phone lines between Los Angeles and Dallas are burning up right now. And what I'm about to reveal involves a trade scenario so explosive that it could completely reshape the championship landscape in both conferences and bring Anthony Davis back home to the Lakers in the most unexpected way imaginable. Welcome back to the Lakers News Fan Report, your exclusive destination for breaking news, insider intelligence, and the kind of fearless analysis that cuts through the noise to deliver what actually matters for our beloved Los Angeles Lakers. What I'm about to share isn't some fancy trade cooked up by casual fans on Reddit. This is a legitimate framework being discussed at the highest levels of NBA front offices, involving multiple teams, significant assets, and a player who already has a championship banner hanging in our building. Stay locked in because the complexity of this potential deal, the strategic implications for our championship window, and the sheer audacity of what Rob Pelinka might be planning will blow your mind. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why this trade makes perfect sense despite how crazy it sounds on the surface, how it addresses our most pressing needs while capitalizing on market inefficiencies, and most importantly, why Anthony Davis wearing purple and gold again could be the move that delivers banner number 18. Let me start by explaining the current situation that's created this opportunity, because context is absolutely everything when evaluating potential blockbuster trades. Anthony Davis, our former franchise cornerstone who was instrumental in delivering the 2020 championship, alongside LeBron James, is currently playing for the Dallas Mavericks after a shocking trade that sent him to Texas during the previous offseason. That move was controversial at the time, but the Lakers front office made the difficult decision to reshape the roster around younger talent and future flexibility. Fast forward to today, and the Mavericks are struggling significantly with a disappointing 2-6 record to start the season. Injuries have plagued their rotation, chemistry has been inconsistent, and questions are emerging about whether their current core can realistically compete for a championship. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis himself is dealing with the same injury concerns that have followed him throughout his career, raising legitimate questions in Dallas about whether building around a 32-year-old big man with his injury history makes sense long-term, especially when they have a generational young talent in Cooper Flagg who represents their future. This is where the opportunity emerges for the Lakers, and this is where Rob Pelinka's strategic thinking becomes absolutely brilliant. The New York Knicks are currently positioned as one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference with a 5-3 record, but they're not satisfied with just being good. They want to be great. They want to be legitimate championship favorites, and they believe that adding an elite two-way big man like Anthony Davis alongside Karl-Anthony Towns would create one of the most formidable front courts in NBA history. The Knicks have the assets to make a competitive offer to Dallas, including quality players like OG Anunoby and Josh Hart, plus draft capital that could help the Mavericks retool around Flagg and Kyrie Irving. Here's where it gets interesting for us. If the Knicks acquire Anthony Davis from Dallas, they would need to move significant salary and roster pieces to make the deal work financially. That creates a secondary market opportunity where the Lakers could swoop in and reacquire assets or players that help us in our championship pursuit. But there's an even more intriguing scenario that league sources are whispering about, one where the Lakers could actually facilitate a 3-team trade. That brings Anthony Davis back to Los Angeles, while sending the right pieces to Dallas and New York to make everyone happy. I know what you're thinking. This sounds complicated and maybe even far-fetched, but stay with me because the framework actually makes a ton of sense. When you break down each team's motivations and needs, for the Knicks, their primary goal is cementing their status as the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. They already have a solid foundation with Jalen Brunson running the offense, Mikal Bridges providing elite two-way play, and Karl-Anthony Towns giving them offensive versatility at the 5. Adding Anthony Davis would give them a defensive anchor who can protect the rim, switch on perimeter players, and provide offensive versatility that few big men in the league can match. Davis is averaging 20.8 points, 10.2 rebounds, 1.6 steals, and 1.2 blocks per game this season on 52% shooting. His offensive rating of 113 and defensive rating of 105 demonstrate that, even at 32 years old with injury concerns, he remains an elite two-way player when healthy. A front court featuring Bridges, Davis, and Towns would be absolutely terrifying for opposing offenses, and the Knicks would instantly become favorites to represent the East in the finals. For Dallas, the calculus is different. but equally compelling. They're facing the harsh reality that their championship window with the current core might be closing faster than anticipated. Davis' injury history makes him unreliable for long-term planning, and with Cooper Flagg emerging as a generational talent who could be the face of their franchise for the next decade. Retooling around youth while remaining competitive makes strategic sense. Acquiring players like OG Anunoby and Josh Hart would give them high-quality two-way contributors who fit better alongside Flagg and Irving. Anunoby is averaging 18.1 points, 6.0 rebounds, and a point for steals per game on 48.6% shooting overall, with 41.4% from three-point range. That's elite production from a wing who can defend multiple positions and space the floor. Hart brings toughness, rebounding, and defensive versatility, averaging 7.9 points, 6.9 rebounds, and 3.6 assists per game. Plus, the draft capital they receive would give them flexibility to continue building through the draft. This is where the Lakers enter the equation, and this is where Rob Pelinka's vision becomes clear. If we can structure a deal where we send rotation players and future draft assets to facilitate this trade while bringing Anthony Davis back to Los Angeles, we instantly transform from a good playoff team into a legitimate championship contender. Imagine AD returning to play alongside LeBron in what could be LeBron's final seasons, reuniting the duo that delivered our 17th championship. The familiarity is already there, the chemistry is proven, and the basketball fit is seamless. Davis thrived in our system before. He knows the organization. He has relationships with the coaching staff, and most importantly, he's already proven he can win at the highest level wearing purple and gold. The defensive impact would be immediate and transformative. Our biggest weakness this season has been consistent rim protection and interior defense. When opponents attack the paint, adding Anthony Davis solves that problem instantly. He's one of the most versatile defenders in basketball, capable of guarding all 5 positions, protecting the rim at an elite level, and making the kinds of help rotations that elevate entire defensive schemes. Pairing him with LeBron, who despite his age remains an incredibly smart team defender, would give us a defensive foundation that could legitimately compete with anyone. In a 7-game playoff series, offensively, Davis gives us a dimension we currently lack. He can operate in the post. He can face up and attack from the perimeter. He can roll to the rim in pick-and-roll actions. And he can step out and knock down mid-range jumpers when defenses collapse. His versatility forces opponents to make difficult decisions about how to defend him. And those decisions create opportunities for everyone else on the floor. LeBron would have another legitimate scoring threat to take pressure off him. Our shooters would get cleaner looks because defenses can't help as aggressively, and our offensive rating would spike significantly. Now let's address the elephant in the room, which is Anthony Davis' injury history and whether trading significant assets for a 32-year-old with his medical track record makes sense. Given our timeline, this is a legitimate concern, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Davis has missed significant time throughout his career with various injuries, and there's no guarantee he stays healthy for a full season and playoff run. However, and this is critical, when Davis is healthy, he's still one of the 15 best players in basketball. His impact on both ends of the floor is undeniable, his skill set is unique, and his championship pedigree is proven. We're not talking about acquiring an unproven commodity. We're talking about bringing back a player who already delivered a title for this franchise. The risk is real, but the reward is banner number 18, and when you're the Lakers with LeBron James in the twilight of his career, you take calculated risks to maximize your championship window. The financial structure of this potential trade would require creative maneuvering from Rob Pelinka, but it's absolutely doable within the constraints of the salary cap and luxury tax considerations. Davis is making approximately $43 million this year, which means we need to send out $43 million this season, which means we need to send out roughly $43 million this year, which means we need to send out $34 to $38 million in salary to make the trade legal under NBA rules. That would likely involve a combination of players like D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, and potentially Jared Vanderbilt, along with future draft compensation to sweeten the deal for Dallas and New York. Losing Russell would hurt our backcourt depth, and Hachimura has been a solid contributor, but neither player is untouchable. When you're talking about acquiring someone of Anthony Davis' caliber, championships require sacrifice, and if moving those pieces brings back AD, you make that trade without hesitation. The draft capital we need to include is harder to quantify because it depends on what Dallas and New York value most. A future first-round pick, even with protections, would likely be required. Maybe a couple of second-rounders get thrown in to balance things out. The exact details would be negotiated between three front offices with different priorities and timelines, but the framework is there for a deal that works for everyone involved. The Knicks get their championship centerpiece in Davis. Dallas gets quality players and picks to retool around Flag. And we get our former franchise cornerstone back to make one more title run with LeBron. The timing of this potential move is also significant because we're still early enough in the season that a returning Anthony Davis would have months to reintegrate into our system, rebuild chemistry with LeBron and the rest of the roster, and be fully prepared for the playoff grind. Chemistry matters enormously in postseason basketball, where possessions are more valuable and defensive schemes are more complex, unlike a deadline acquisition who has 6 weeks to adjust. A player returning to a familiar organization and system can hit the ground running. Davis knows J.J. Redick's offensive principles. He understands Lakers basketball, and he's already proven he can perform on the biggest stages in our uniform. That familiarity is invaluable and significantly reduces the integration risk that comes with most major trades. Beyond the on-court impact, there are massive psychological and organizational benefits to bringing Anthony Davis back to Los Angeles. It would energize our fan base in a way that few moves could. It would send a clear message to LeBron that we're all in on winning now. And it would put the entire Western Conference on notice that the Lakers are not rebuilding, we're reloading for another championship run. The narrative around our franchise would shift immediately from questions about our future to excitement about our present. Media coverage would explode, ticket sales would surge, and the buzz around Lakers basketball would reach levels we haven't seen since the championship season. That intangible energy matters. It creates momentum, and momentum is a real factor in championship pursuits. Let's also consider how Anthony Davis fits into the broader Western Conference landscape and what his addition means for our matchups against elite competition. The Denver Nuggets with Nikola Jokic remain the team to beat, but adding AD gives us the exact defensive weapon we need to slow down the two-time MVP. Davis has historically defended Jokic as well as anyone in the league, using his length, mobility, and basketball IQ to disrupt passing lanes and contest shots. Against Phoenix with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, Davis' defensive versatility allows us to switch across multiple positions without creating exploitable mismatches. Against younger, more athletic teams like Oklahoma City, Davis can match their energy and athleticism while providing veteran savvy that younger players lack. In every conceivable playoff matchup, having Anthony Davis makes us significantly more dangerous and significantly harder to game plan against. The potential challenges and obstacles to making this trade happen are significant and shouldn't be minimized. First, Dallas might ultimately decide they're not ready to move on from Anthony Davis. Despite their slow start, if Kyrie Irving returns from injury and the team starts winning games, their urgency to make major changes decreases. Second, the Knicks might balk at the price required to acquire Davis, especially if they're concerned about his injury history and long-term durability. Third, even if both those teams are willing to make moves, coordinating a three-team trade with multiple moving pieces and draft picks is incredibly complex from a logistical standpoint. Timing has to align perfectly. All three teams have to agree on valuation simultaneously, and any one party getting cold feet kills the entire deal. These are real obstacles, but they're not insurmountable. And if there's one executive in the NBA who has the relationships, creativity, and determination to pull off a complicated multi-team trade, it's Rob Pelinka. So here's my bottom line analysis on what this potential Anthony Davis reunion would mean for the Los Angeles Lakers. This is the definition of a high-risk, high-reward move that could either deliver banner number 18 or set us back if injuries derail the plan. But here's what I believe. When you have LeBron James still playing at an All-NBA level, at 39 years old, you cannot afford to play it safe. You cannot afford to hoard draft picks and young assets for a future that might never come. You have to be aggressive. You have to capitalize on your championship window while it's open. And you have to be willing to take calculated risks to maximize your chances of winning it all. Bringing back Anthony Davis checks all those boxes. He's a proven champion in our uniform. He fits seamlessly with LeBron. He addresses our biggest weaknesses on both ends of the floor. and he gives us a legitimate shot at competing with anyone in a playoff series. If Rob Pelinka can navigate the complexity of a multi-team trade and bring AD back to Los Angeles, it would be remembered as one of the boldest and most impactful moves in franchise history. Now, I genuinely want to hear from you, the passionate, intelligent fans who make up Laker Nation. How do you feel about the possibility of trading for Anthony Davis again? Does his injury history concern you too much, or do you believe the championship upside is worth the risk? What would you be willing to give up in terms of current players and draft picks to make this happen? Do you trust that AD and LeBron can recapture the magic from 2020? Drop your honest thoughts, your concerns, your excitement, and your analysis in the comments below, because this community thrives on real basketball discussion, and I genuinely value your perspective on these franchise-defining decisions. And listen, if you want to stay ahead of every trade rumor, every front office move, every strategic decision, and every development that impacts our beloved Los Angeles Lakers, you absolutely must subscribe to this channel right now and smash that notification bell. The Lakers News Fan Report is your most trusted source for breaking news, insider information, and the kind of detailed analysis that respects your intelligence as a basketball fan. We're here every single day bringing you content that matters, insights that make sense, and the passion that matches your own love for this historic franchise. Lakers Nation, let's go bring AD home and get banner number 18 together.